You have tuned into The Voice of Medicine, the medical podcast filled with remarkable stories, first-hand experience, important research, and valuable life lessons. Open your mind, relax, and enjoy. Hello, everybody. I hope you had a great week. My today's guest is Dr. Lejla Stojanovic. She's a consultant in clinical immunology and allergology as well. She's from Serbia. She was featured on Serbian national TV multiple times. Her wide scope of practices enables her to have a holistic view on medicine and on healthcare in Serbia as well. I'm glad that she took her time and is going to talk to me about Serbia's healthcare, about the improvement, about the challenges. We're going to discuss allergies, certain differences between allergies. Among other things, we're going to discuss vaccination, and I hope you're going to enjoy. So, Lejla, I'm very happy that you could make it to the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. On Serbian, we said dobro vas našla. Like when you said welcome, Serbian will give you like dobro vas našla. So dobro vas našla, Michal.
Okay, like it sounds a little bit like the language is familiar to my mother tongue, and it actually sounds like if you said you found it well. If you translate it.
Yes, perfect.
It's pretty cool. So let's start a little bit broadly with a rather broad question. I didn't have anybody so far from Serbia's healthcare, so I'm very happy that you could make it. And you've been a part of Serbian healthcare now for over 15 years. I would like to know from your perspective, where is Serbian healthcare now, let's say, compared to the past 10 years that you've been in it? Like, what is the progress that you guys made so far?
Yeah. Well, the main period that we start to calculate that period of differences is from 2000s. So on the basis of gathering data from demographical studies from Europe Unia, research about alcohol and drug abuse, medical indicators about diseases and injuries burden in Serbia, life standard study, and many other analyses made by Ministry of Health, Statistic Institute, demographic decline in mark as a main impression in Serbia. So main indicator of social and economical status and functional healthcare system in Serbia is to 1 of live children mortality rate, actually. And mortality rate of Serbian children up to 1 year old is decreased from 11.6 on 6.7 from 2000. So we have that little bit, we go forward. So through the implementation process of healthcare policy, the goals that were set are achieved in large degree. The goals such as development and level of healthcare institution network. It is necessary to speed up the process in individual field, such as coverage of general population with service of family doctor, increases the level of quality, decentralization, financial sustainability of healthcare system, and to realize the functional connection and collaboration of private and public sector in future. There is no adequate conclusion. We are going, in a good way. We go forward, but it is still on the rate that we need to work very hard to be in a first European lines. So official gazette for publication of rules and regulation published in 2010, rule book about quality indicators of healthcare. Under the indicators of healthcare are qualitative indicators that for tracking and evaluation of medical care and treatment of patient, and also the support of medical care activities. So in the field of providing high quality medical service, great challenges in solving the problem of co-funding medical services that outsources to the private sector. So hospital sector is relatively strong, but there is a significant need for modernization here.
Leila, you're killing it. It's I can feel this is a serious report. This is not the United Nations. I mean, you
Okay,
took
okay,
it a
yeah.
step too far.
But there is so much problem here. Yeah, and there's so many institutes. We have so many institutes by financed by Europe that help us, to create that projects. Yes.
Yeah. So the positive, we can definitely summarize that things are moving into the right direction. You guys are getting some help from. See this, this is
Yeah.
basically the
Yeah. We
short
can.
version.
Yeah, it's short version my explanation. So thank you, Michal.
No problem, no problem. But the good thing is you're also getting some help from the European Union in regards of finance. Now, I would be interested. So, for example, how is it with the next generation? So, is the I don't know, Ministry of Health or maybe the academia doing something? So you guys are getting a new young generation of doctors. I would say this is like a general problem in the whole of Europe that there is not enough, young doctors coming out of universities and going into the hospitals. So I don't know what the situation is on your side.
Uh, yes, we have a very good medical school, and we have very good quality of medicine here, uh, and education and trainings and everything. But the problem starts when young doctor finished his basic education and to work, because our salaries are the main problem. We have a very low budget for medicine here in Serbia, and so many goes out. So we are on deficit for doctors, but just because we cannot pay the doctors, we have doctors who don't have a job in this moment. We have it. There is a list, but on the end of this story, that doctors who wait for the job actually goes in another countries and start working there, and that's a huge problem here in Serbia.
Mm. So there is this classic, and I think this also happens a lot in other countries. But for example, Greece is one of the countries where it's very massive, where the people who are skilled, and they're basically leaving to the Western countries just because, well, first of all, they will earn more there, but also the possibilities of
Yes,
personal development, medical development is there. Okay,
yes,
I see.
that's right. Yeah.
I have seen, for example, that lately you've been you visited a congress in Vienna, as far as I remember, and this gave me an idea when I was thinking what to talk to you about. Is do you see I would say a cultural difference between the doctors in Serbia and maybe the colleagues that you met in Vienna, who probably came from all around the world for that congress? So when you're exchanging,
Like cultural difference, of course there is cultural differences, because the Hindu doctor, she is walking in her sari, but the main difference, there is no actually there is no main differences, because we are standing in one spot all together, and we are here come, with the same passion and with the same hungry for that help, for that knowledge, and to see and to hear new topics, and maybe to learn something new. So that is the most interesting thing in Vienna, on Anshe. That is the top in reproductive medicine congress in Europe. But there is 10,000 of registered doctors and nurses, and everybody was exciting about topics, about sessions, about the courses, and it was really unique feeling. It is really moving. It really moves all medicine forward, and it moves all us, and it put us on the same cause. It's really inspiring. So thank you for that question, Mikhail.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was very interested if you personally saw something, but I mean, it's beautiful to see that no matter where you come from, technically you have the same aim, which is patients' health, and you're all together working to that cause.
Yeah.
I would like to shift now the view from the healthcare on doctors a little bit more to the patients. So, what I was very interested in is from your perspective, how are the habits, the health habits of the Serbian population? So, is taking care of oneself and paying attention to health and so on, is that something rather prevalent, or are people a little bit more negligible to themselves?
Well, because we are talking about all Serbia, so it's quite big view. There is one study from Ministry of Health that covers all the Serbian habits and all the Serbian health. So I really want to be precise when I'm talking about that, because I don't want to give my personal perspective or perspective from the few patients that I the mostly frequently see in my private ordination. Maybe it is good to give that the global perspective, the perspective from Serbia. So I will tell you that there is one publication present in a national evaluation of national health survey, actually, from 2004. And the publication presents the key findings of the study by gender and age of the survey population, social economic characteristics, education, household income, and demographics health survey, the index, actually. There is a 12 points, 12 findings there. And the first one tells that almost a half of the adult population and about 90% of children and adolescents preserve their overall health as good and very good. Next, almost every other adult had at least one of the chronic disease: elevated blood pressure, rheumatic articular disease, elevated blood lipids. Next, with regard to nutrition status, 2006, the body mass index show overweight in 54% of that pool. 2/3 of adults spend their free time passively in sedentary activities, and almost 1/3 of the working population had a sedentary type of work. In sixth, risky behavior in traffic was particularly marked in drivers aged 18 to 34 years, and were almost considered to having driven under the influence of alcohol, exceeding the speed limit, and using a mobile phone while driving. In nine, of the total number of adults who have sex with non-regular partners, only somewhat about one half use a condom at least latest sexual intercourse with a non-regular partner. Over one-fifth of the young-aged 50 to 90 years had sufficient knowledge about HIV/AIDS, which is threefold improvement over 2000. Over two-fifths of the sum accounted of purchase of medications. So, I maybe that's it.
Really? Okay, because I was thinking that you just keep going for another 20 minutes and tell us a little bit, give us a little bit more data.
I understand, but maybe it is important.
Yeah, it is. It is important. It's actually very good to hear. So, what I realize is, like probably in any other Western country, Serbians need to move a little bit more, and so they can burn the calories. And also, young people, young adults should use more protection when they are having sexual intercourse. Plus, they should stop drinking when they're driving very, very fast. From your report.
Yes, you hear me. And maybe there is the data that I mentioned, but it's really a very huge problem here because we have so much clubs, we have very high social life here, and the young people start to go out very young. Here it's particularly very often you will see young people getting drunk and sit in the car very often. So yeah.
Well, there is a very good way how to stop this. I mean, you just make sure that the police is checking a little bit more. That when they get caught, they just need to pay a fine, which is very high. You know, that usually is, I would say, scary enough for young people not to do that.
Good measure. Good measure, yeah, good measure. Yes, unfortunately, in few examples, in few cases, it's there is no comeback. We have dead people. We have so much car accident, but it comes, it goes. Our talk comes to political. A thing, because there is so problem here in that part of as well. So maybe it will be good to make measurements to be sharper, or to be there is no way that you can get out just because you are young. But just because you're young, you should pay a lot. So you will never ever have that idea later. So I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think in other countries where the fines are very high, what people do is they carpool. So you always have one person who is not drinking, and make sure that basically drives everybody home safely. But I mean, there is a lot of possibilities, but it's just neglect. It's you don't think about it, then you do it, but there is a lot of risk involved, and usually the how should I say, the regret afterwards is tremendous.
I said I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you, Michael.
Moving on for a little bit more, specific topic, which is your expertise as an immunologist and allergologist, is we're going to talk about allergies. And you specifically asked me to talk about the environmental allergies and their influence on the respiratory system. And before I go green, because I don't know what to talk about in these topics, I'm not the expert. I'll just let you introduce the topic and why you wanted to talk about this one exactly.
Okay, I really like to do that. So first of all, we should make a difference between seasonal and environmental allergies. So seasonal allergies strike at different times of the year, and depending on which allergies trigger a reaction. Seasonal allergies include runny nose, itchy eyes, congestion, and sneezing. Maybe you have it, Michael, sometimes?
Are we talking about pollen allergy? So as soon as these grasses, flowers, and whatever pop up in spring, I'm basically dying. Do you mean that?
Yeah, you see, it's very often actually. It goes with 30% of all population, so it's really really often.
How lucky I am.
Yes, but it's treatable. So if you have good coffee, you have refill your coffee. Maybe you will hear all the treatment stories. So you will go with that. Don't worry. So other symptoms include sore throat from postnasal drip, the sensation of one's poppy, and even fatigue during the day. That symptoms could trigger all sorts of pollens floating around. But environmental allergies are different from seasonal allergies in that they are found year-round versus different times of the year. So environmental allergies include exposure to dust mites, cockroaches, and pet danger. So when we are talking of mechanism, I can tell you that with the repeated exposure, the body produce large amounts of the antibody specific to that allergens and stimulate cells in the respiratory system, so-called mast cells, to release histamine. And chemical response for allergic symptoms such as runny nose, cough, and itchy. Actually, histamine is the main cause. Allergy drugs such as antihistaminics and the concomitants may make it easier to breathe. There is important to say that asthma is the most worst case of allergic reaction. like angioedema as well, and should be treated with inhalated or parenteral given corticos that will help open airways and reduce inflammation in the airways. That is the story about that distinction of environmental and seasonal.
Seasonal.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. Can I jump in between,
of
like,
course,
with some questions?
of course.
Lovely. So, is there a difference, for example, in the in being allergic to cats and dogs?
Well, that is pet allergies. It's a bit difference because they can be cause of the environmental allergies, but that reaction causes with the protein from the animal. It is allergic reaction on that proteins found in an animal skin, cells, saliva, or urine. Signs of the pet allergy includes those common of high fever, such as sneezing and runny nose. And some people may also experience signs of asthma as well, such as wheezing and difficulty breathing. So pet allergies are common. However, it is go to develop pet allergies in the positive family outcome in the allergies of asthma. So if your father or someone had that asthma or have some kind of allergies, there is quite likely that you will have a pet allergy on the end. So being exposed to pets at an early age may help you avoid pet allergies. So it is good advice to give a baby some pet in early age. In the first year, it's good for baby to have a little cat around her. So it's actually good medical advice. Yeah.
So I've been also told by somebody, and I didn't believe this. I didn't make a fact check on this, but somebody told me that there are how do you call it, a hypoallergic cat, so that there are cats which are like don't have any allergens, and I thought like
No. As I already said, any protein from all cats have a proteins, but maybe there is a cats who have less glands who will, don't leave so much fur. They will don't leave so much hair around her. All that is allergens. So all that animal who once you have a pet allergy or allergy on a cat or allergy on a dog, you will be allergic on every dog. So there is no there is a 20% of population worldwide, and it's growing public health concern as these rates increase because the ability to diagnose cat sensation is good in contrast to dog. So component result diagnostics of sensation to individual allergenic proteins will dramatically improve diagnosis. So this remain focuses on the current state of knowledge regarding allergies to dog and cats. Recent advances therapies such as subcutaneous immunotherapy, there is that kind of therapy as well, and discusses important areas to improve diagnosis and therapy. In generally, the high prevalence of allergic diseases is associated with considerable direct individual morbidity as well as high societal costs, including loss of productivity. So it was the most costly disease in the US, with estimated at $6,000 per year per employee. So it's very, very huge field for research and for do something, maybe with the immunotherapy or with the oral antihistaminics, or because when you said someone you need to rid off your cat or dog because you're allergic, they will rather die by asthma than do that. So we need.
Oh yeah, the love between the pet owners and the pets these days is extremely strong. Sometimes, in my opinion, beyond reason. But who am I to judge? I mean,
Like me, yes. So we need to find solution for that love and to be to be in a family to stay that cat. My advice to my patient is that at least not sleep with the animal. Just avoid sleeping, because you will be inhalating 6 or 9 hours that proteins that will really damage your respiratory and whole body with the antigens. So.
But then, I mean, if it's really the proteins, then I'm asking, for example, myself, let's assume I am allergic to a cat. And then you tell me that I am, and, I'm not one of these super loving people, so I get rid of her. But I'm still having trouble. Is it because probably her protein is all over the place?
Of course, it's a very huge problem. And there is a proteins when animal lives in a house. There is a dry urine. There is a wet urine on the floor. Then that urine goes dry, and that the dry urine goes in the air. So in one moment you have all that allergens in the air just because you have pet. So my advice for people, sometimes you cannot make a distinction if there is real allergic reaction or it's just sensitivity. So we need to do tests, we do pricks, and after that we give good information and precise information that that particular person have a strong allergy reaction on their pet. It's very sad information for that, and it goes with the 5 phases. They all of them thinking just how to how to avoid separation from pet, and sometimes goes for checkups and said, okay, I don't have any contact, but you see that they have.
Classic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't eat any red meat or chocolate. Yeah, of course. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
That sort of stuff. Okay. So we definitely covered the seasonal allergies. We talked a little bit about the environmental ones. We talked about the animals. Now I'll be very curious about the food allergies. So did the food allergies, or is there an increase in the incidence rate of food allergies? And the reason why I'm asking is because up until maybe 2 years ago, I barely heard about, from people that you meet and talk, I barely heard about somebody telling me that they're allergic to food. And suddenly everybody has a problem with gluten. Everybody has some problem with lactose. And I don't know. I mean, did they have this problem for a long time and they didn't know what was going on and it got public? Or are we getting more and more sensitive?
Well, the point is that the people who are talking about that kind of allergies, I apostrophe that, it is the problem with the intolerance. So there is this distinction about that. It's different things. Food allergies are mostly misunderstood as intolerance. So most physical reaction to a certain food is caused by intolerance. And you don't want to have a food allergy, believe me. So food allergy causes an immune system reaction, and it affects numerous organs in the body. In some cases, it could be life-threatening. By intolerance symptoms are generally less serious and often limited and localized on digestive problems. So intolerance is easy to prevent by avoiding specific food. Causes of food intolerance include absence of an enzyme needed to fully digest the food, or irritable bowel syndrome, or sensitivity to food, to some food additives, or requiring stress or physiological factors, or celiac disease. Celiac disease has some features it goes like a food, very similar to food allergy, because it involves the immune system as well. But people with celiac disease are not at risk of anaphylaxis, like people with a truly food allergy is. So this chronic digestive condition is triggered by eating gluten. So it's caused by that protein. So by food allergy reaction, the greatest reaction is anaphylaxis. It is a life-threatening reaction, and in that case we need to administer an emergency epinephrine shot in order to prevent heart failure. So that's serious food allergy is. In my opinion, the food allergy is not increasing. Actually, it's been the same all the year. But intolerance, maybe because we have good diagnostic now, we can do the very easy tests, and then we can measure people when they avoid that food. So in that case, we can say there is a reaction on that food, like intolerance. Maybe later, maybe in the past, there is no way to make it different. Just you feel that nothing is good for you. You cannot, it's your stomach is in pain. You just avoid naturally, that food. But now we can set precisely your, intolerance on the lactose or protein, milk protein. So maybe because of that, you have that
perception, I would call it. Yeah, maybe wrong perception. Definitely. And it's also due to media and everything, it felt like suddenly everybody is allergic to any kind of food. But thank you very much for clarifying that. So it's actually maybe an increase in intolerance. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Actually, in Serbia, we all stop eating gluten because our Novak Djokovic started to winning after failure because they stop eating gluten. So he do very very big media and influence on everyday people's life because of that. So can you believe?
Yeah, well, sometimes I'm asking myself if it's just not because the quality of the food that is produced and sold just went down dramatically. Because if you're producing masses of food, sooner or later the quality of the products is not going to be the same. So, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I assume that it's not that the grain and the other things probably don't have the same texture and quality that they.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. Especially with the meat, there is a very huge problem with that, and I don't know. I think that we will see that consequences the years that come.
Yeah, we usually pay for that with our health. So, but I mean, sometimes that's what it takes to understand. Sometimes for us, it's like a common human denominator. We need to feel it so we can change it.
Yeah, on our skin.
Now, asking as a lay person, is there or what is the difference, for example, if I'm allergic to peanuts or if I'm allergic, for example, to shellfish or crustaceans? So I understand that there are probably different allergens, and then my body probably produces different type of antibodies. But is there also another difference, or is it basically the same?
No. Once you have your body recognized that food that's danger for you, even if it's not, they will give you particularly high level of immune response, and it's unique response. There is no personal response for some food. For example, if you're allergic on strawberry, you will have the same reaction, prompt reaction. It can be depend just in amount that you take it. Maybe if you have two strawberries, it's the different reaction, or just it will be reaction different, just time difference. Like it will be fast, then you will eat just half of strawberry. So just it's the same. If you're allergic on peanut, you will have the same reaction like the girl who is allergic on strawberry. So it is the same, and it leads to a very strong reaction. If it is not treatable, if you don't go to or cannot catch up the some ER, you will probably have a heart failure and you will probably die. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for clarifying that for me.
You're welcome, Michal.
You mentioned the skin prick test. I remember, I mean, it was administered on myself, a while back, a few years ago as well. But I was asking, is that the only game in town? So it's like, it's that the only test that it's widely used to find out if you're allergic to something, or is there something more modern? I don't know. I'm not informed on this.
Well, skin prick, if you ask me, is he still up to date? Is still the most sensitive test for allergies, the gold standard for allergy testing, and it is essential procedure to confirm sensitization of interglobulin E mediated allergies, diseases in subject which rhinoconjunctivitis, asthma, urticaria, anaphylaxis, atopic eczema, etc., etc. Even on the food and drug allergy as well. So the recommended method of prick testing includes the appropriate use of specific allergen extract, positive and negative control, interpretation of the test after 50 and 20 minutes of application, which a positive result defined as a wheel bigger than 3 millimeters diameter. Standardization of the skin test procedures are standard panels for different geographic location are encouraged worldwide to permit better comparisons for diagnostic, clinical, and research purposes. So yes, my answer is yes. Skin prick is still up to date, and because it's cheap, because he's fast, and you can with that test you can test every allergens, antigens that you want. We have here 10 the basic antigens that we test if we're talking about seasonal allergies, and we have a bit bigger for food allergies. It is about 20 antigens that we tested, but the mostly it is enough. There is no go. If there is a problem, if there is autoimmunological states, and then we are going deeper, and we take a blood samples from our patient. We do separation of antigens, of interglobulin, and immunological proteins, and then we can discuss on the molecular level what's happening in the body if there is a huge problem. But when we are talking about these kind of allergies, the skin prick is enough.
Okay. So it's still up to date and we can still use it. And actually, I was wondering because it's is that simple. I was wondering if if we are basically not moving forward in this, or if somebody forgot to innovate. But if it works, and if it's really a very good solution from all perspectives, why not?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe a little bit more, how should I say, critical topic once more.
You
This is
laugh.
something
You
what
laugh.
I would
You
say
must
a lot
admit
of.
that critical topics.
Yeah,
You brought
I think deep down I'm a rebel,
yeah.
a provocateur, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't like boring stuff.
Okay.
I like fun. Fun usually comes together when you ask the right questions. So I know that a lot of mothers would probably shake their heads right now, but I want to talk to you about vaccination because lately there has been a huge uproar about vaccination, and I don't know why, but after extinguishing a lot of I would say life-threatening conditions thanks to vaccination, suddenly out of nowhere, some people come out of the woods and they are fighting against vaccination because of, I would say, rather small number of cases where the evidence is a little bit inconclusive. So, I mean, you as an expert, what do you think about vaccination?
All the best. Vaccinate your child. Don't hesitate. No, seriously. In light of the increasing refusal of some parents to vaccinate children, public health strategies have focused on increasing knowledge and awareness based on a knowledge deficit approach. So, however, decisions about vaccination are based on more than mere knowledge of risks, costs, and benefits. So, individual decision making about vaccination involve many other factors, including those related to emotions, culture, religion, and socio-political context. So in one paper published last year, I'm all about papers, but I'm a scientist.
That's fine. That's fine. We need evidence. We need objective evidence and data to substantiate the claims,
I understand, because this is a very serious theme. So that paper published last year by data collected and used in National Representative Internet Survey in the US to investigate socio-political characteristics to assess attitudes about vaccination. In particular, they considered how political ideology and trust affect opinion about vaccination for flu, pertussis, and measles. So their findings demonstrate that ideology has a direct effect of vaccine attitudes. Likely to express pro-vaccination beliefs that other individuals. So furthermore, ideology also has an indirect effect on immunization propensity. So the ideology variably predicts an indicator capturing trust in government medical experts, which in turn help to explain individual level variation with regards to attitudes about vaccine choice. Despite all 50 states requiring children to be vaccinated before attending school, all states allow exemption for medical reasons. All but 2 allow exemptions for religious reasons, and almost half philosophical reasons. So such exemptions contradict the effort of the US government to adhere to a federally mandated vaccine schedule and achievement of universal vaccination to maintain herd immunity. Various reasons for parents not vaccinating their children exist, from mere oversight, socioeconomic barriers, race, ethnicity, and for some the result of conscious decision. Oftentimes, the deliberate decisions are based on parental concern regarding vaccine safety and efficiency. For example, there is a growing parental public interest in natural products, and even some have taken up to mental to green or vaccines. So it's mental due to public fears of the relationship between MMR vaccine and autism. So that there is a relationship for which no credible empirical evidence have been found. When vaccination concerns children, as in the case of MMR, parents lack control over the outcome of vaccination, and the potential damage, although extremely rare, less than 1 in a million, can be long-term or even fatal. Moreover, benefits can be difficult to calculate, particularly given that the negative consequences of nearly eradicated disease are no longer silent. So consequently, many parents give greater weight to the risks of vaccines than the benefit. So because of that, we have now huge problem in Serbia. Every year we have morbidity epidemic, and that is very sad information, because that diseases was eradicated. Now they're no longer silent, and if you want advice for that mother, there's no advice. They just need to do vaccine shuttle for their children, not to think about that, not to research on the internet or to ask neighbor.
Well, I mean, they can research if they want to, but then they have to research properly. I mean, you cannot read some post online from somebody, or let's say from a nobody, and then go like, okay, this is what's happening. I mean, then they need to do what scientists do. So you have to go online and you have to read 50, 60 papers.
Yeah, of course. It's very hard to research that gene, because it's all about molecules. When you are discussing vaccines and what's happening and the way that vaccine is improving your immunity and your health, you need to understand molecularly these signals, the genetics and everything. And it is in the start very confusing and very parents goes with the anxious. I think that it's not good for them. There is papers who tell that there is from in a 1 in a million child there could be not good outcome, and for a parent with that child that is 100%.
Yeah, we really have, this is the problem of the this is a psychological problem that we have, is we are not really good in assessing risk. That's number one. And number two, we don't really and we don't really think in proper probabilities, and in the mathematical sense. What we do is we take something what is representative, and when your child should become autist, that's for a lot of parents a very scary emotional thing. That's their representativeness, So 1 in a million autists. Wow, my child, no. They don't see the probabilities. They cannot assess the risk. Hence, we have the problem that we have. Horrible.
Yes, good. You have good sentences. You said it very well. So thank you for that conclusion.
Well, thank you for giving us the data.
Material. Yeah, you're welcome.
Perfect. One last question to close up our wonderful talk, and I'm pretty sure that you already heard this one for 100 times. But what can we do to have a better immune system? So, what are the easy life hacks that everybody can do to basically boost up the immune system?
So you want a little high, you want to live long and good with a good quality of life. Is that your question?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, so I was asking for basically very simple advice for everybody, how to boost up the immune system a little. Despite taking cold showers and eating oranges and lemons.
Because you already do that.
Well, the cold showers, yes. The oranges, rather less. I mean, it's. I go for apples because 1 apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah, away, of course. Well, do you want a scientific story, or you want to?
I want something what is efficient, what actually works.
Well, there is a very, very good, scientific story about supplements, and because of there is so much a problem. There is so much supplements that people don't know how to use it. They don't know, what kind of what to choose, what kind of to choose. So, the main advance or hack, it will be for you just to eat fresh food from your land, from your country. The food that is genetic similar with you, the most similar with you. Enough time to eat 2 meals in a calmness. Enough time to have to digest that food. It will be good advice. And of course, the using of some aerobical exercises for running, it is not not some lifting and to do the high lifting, just aerobic or running. It's like manganese, iron, copper, zinc are also involved in nucleotide and nucleic acid systems. So that's my advice. Just be balanced and go with the balanced proteins, go with the balanced phosphates, lipids, fatty acids. Everything will be good. Be happy. Yeah, just be happy not to have bad genetic, and by supplements you will be okay.
So movement and nutrition, wonderful, perfect. Lejla, thank you very much for this last advice. We will surely take it into consideration. I hope everybody will. And thank you for coming on my show.
No, thank you, Michal. It was a very pleasure to me.
This was The Voice of Medicine. Make sure you tune in next time and take care.